Hi, I'm Jonas from Whole Body Chiro. I would like to run through some exercises you can do as an adult if you have an active Babinski reflex. So the Babinski reflex is this reflex that involves the foot. So if you scratch your foot in a C shape like this from the outside of the foot and curling in, as a grown-up, what's supposed to happen is that the toe should curl in and sort of grab so the sole or the foot sort of shy away from that sharp object. So I can see it with my pinky toe here and the next toe along that they sort of curl in a bit. If you do the same thing in the baby, they will have the exact opposite reaction. So the toe would bend up, big toe in particular, and probably the next couple of toes, and the toes on the outside here start to splay out and away, fan out like that. So as the baby gets a bit older, say they start to walk at 12 to 24 months, this reflex is not helpful, because as they step on scratchy surfaces that stimulate this reflex, they need to grab onto the ground, and particularly if something sharp, they need to sort of lift that arch of the foot down and plant in the toes instead to get pressure away from that sharp object. So to suppress that reflex, as the higher brain centers become more evolved and functional, they should come down and suppress that. Because early on, it's just a reflex, so it's not under voluntary control. You get this sensory feedback from the L5 and S1 nerve root heading up into the spinal cord, and then reflexively you get the motor outgoing pathway that leads to that toe lifting and flaring out. So to stop that as you get older, you have the higher brain centers like the motor cortex sending information down to inhibit that reflex, so it's not reactively doing that movement. So particularly you have your motor cortex, and then you get this corticospinal tract coming down and suppressing that. So if this doesn't happen the way it's supposed to as you grow up, it could be a few different reasons for that. So first of all, if this higher brain center control doesn't mature properly and then that doesn't develop the way it's supposed to, that's one thing. So that's what we want to address today with these exercises. But you can also have damage to the communication pathway. So say that they did develop properly, but then you get a lesion that affect that corticospinal tract, so the message can't get through, then that reflex could come back. Or if you get some other damage of the higher brain centers, so say that you get heavily intoxicated, so the brain doesn't function as well as it should, temporarily while you're intoxicated, then once again that Babinski reflex could come back. But if it never developed in the first place, that is a sign of developmental immaturity in that pathway, and we want to start to stimulate it and get rid of that delay in development in the brain. So the first thing you can do is to start to just get more stimulation to the skin at the sole of your foot. So you might start to walk around barefoot a lot more, walking on grass, walking on pavement and that sort of thing, and that scratchy surface start to stimulate and activate the reflex. If you don't want to walk around barefoot outside, then another thing you can do is have something like this tennis ball, a bit scratchy. If you have a standing desk, for example, you can stand and work on massage the sole of your foot while you're working, or sitting watching TV, you can roll the sole of your feet, sort of nice massagey sort of feeling anyway. Or I quite like to combine it with exercise. So here I have a wall squat, working on the strength of the quad here while stimulating the sole of the foot. So that's just activating that sensory pathways. Now the next step is to start to add some more higher brain center control and coordination, and rather than just getting sensory feedback, we want to start to bend the toes in like those higher brain centers are supposed to come down and do. So you can give yourself a task like scrunching a paper with your toes, like this. Once again, you could do that from that wall sit position. Use both toes here even. And as they start to bunch up or scrunch up under the sole of the foot, I get that sharp sensory feedback while working on contracting the toes. Another even more advanced version of this, we have to have more dexterity and control and balance with your toes, is to do something like this exercise. So here I have a doormat with some hessian material at the back, so a bit scratchy, and on an uneven or soft surface that's a bit of give and harder for balance, and some Lego pieces spread out on the ground here. And from here I'm going to balance on that one leg on this unstable surface like that, and then come down and pick up Lego pieces, so you get that sharp stimulation on the sole of the foot. Just doing pistol squat reps like that. It doesn't need to be as high surface. You could do it just flat on the ground, just working on balance on standing on one leg, or just a staircase raise that's not as high, and you still get a good workout out from doing this. So we've done a few things for your lower limb on the quad side. Let's do something for the back, for the glutes and hamstring. So you could do a glute bridge here. So I'm going to use this surface here. Let that sensation on the sole of the foot stimulate the reflex, but then rather than splaying the toes out, you're going to catch this edge to create a lift there for the glute bridge. So lifting up, sliding the sole of the foot, catch, up, sliding, stimulating, and catch, up, sliding, catch, up. Right, so there you have it, a few different progressions to stimulate the Babinski reflex and teach your brain to override it and develop higher cortical functioning control over that reflex. Try it out, and good luck.